no GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad in a soul train frame. We fly that flow, spread that gap. No time to nap. Hit that road. Funk and control. Bounce that wall. We fly it all. We fly it all. Funky and free, we fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a blast from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoops got rhythm, my sticks got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that split that's over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with ease. Tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all.
Greetings. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to the show. It's Sunday Q&A. I'm completely exhausted. This is going to be a recap live stream of my live broadcast event yesterday, the Sunny King Criterium. Criterium, for those of you that don't follow cycling, is the NASCAR of cycling in that they run a circuit over and over and over again. In this case, it's a big rectangle, like 2 blocks down, 1 block over, 2 blocks up, 1 block down, 2 blocks over. Sometimes they'll do other shapes, but they're usually in city settings, like what you were just seeing here. And yeah, the most complicated shape I've seen... Actually, no. There was one that I did 2 years ago with the National Cycling League in out west somewhere. I forget exactly where it was. But it was a crazy shape because they held it like in the parking lot of a giant stadium. And so it was like up, over, down, around. But yeah, usually they're in cities, and so there'll be a rectangle, or sometimes they'll do like over, down, or something like that, or like that, and then like that. But yeah, sort of the NASCAR of cycling. Also, these guys are kind of bumping and grinding a little bit, and drafting and like, so yeah, there's real NASCAR vibes. When you're what they say is on the tire, when you're drafting the guy in front of you, you save 30, you use 30% less energy. And you can literally hear it at these events when the riders come by in a pack, which is called a peloton. There is this wall of air that gets pushed, and it's really incredible. When I'm flying with them, there's like a very specific height that I can be at where I won't get the wall of air coming off top of them. When you see the camera start moving around when I'm like locked in, It's literally the dirty air coming off the rider hitting the drone, and kind of shaking me around a little bit. So yeah, incredibly fun. These Criterium racing events are my favorite. I think they're my favorite events to fly. Full stop. In 4 years of flying FPV full time, as well as these live streams, I think that these events are the most fun that I have. It's so challenging. It's live, so it's incredibly high pressure. There's nowhere to hide. There's no stabilization. There's no bullshit. Like, you have to be dialed in. All your gear has to be dialed in. And you got to do it safely, because, like, you know, it's not about you. It's about the story being told through, like, the race, right? Like, there are teams, and so there's a lot of teamwork involved, of, like, keep the majority of your team in the pack, saving energy, and then send one out to kind of push everyone, to push the whole pack to go faster, basically. And so there's this whole kind of storyline that's evolving. The races are an hour. And yeah, there's an entire storyline through that entire hour of the teams interacting with each other, and specific riders too. Specific riders pushing harder or laying back and saving energy. And you know, my job is not to like make cool looking FPV shots. It's to help tell that story. And having a camera that can, like, look down on a pack of these riders, rather than cameras on the corners that look, you know, at the riders like this, is incredible, because you get to see all this nuance, and all this motion, and all little stuff going on that you couldn't normally see, and it's just awesome. It's incredibly challenging, but in the best possible way, if that makes any sense. This year, those of you that have been watching these live streams for the last 2 months will know that I basically built an entire new fleet of drones around the 04 Pro system. Well, not just the 04 Pro, the 04 Lite as well. I didn't build any drones specifically with the 04 Lite for live broadcast work, but a couple of the 04 Lite setups that I have, I'm going to be bringing with me, because they're absolutely hysterical. Like, I flew this inside the production truck. I flew this inside, like, the VIP area. It's a whole different kind of thing to have something absolutely itty bitty, that, you know, you couldn't hurt a fly with, that streams 1080 60p, and records on board 4K. And so, yeah, really, really cool. It was super fun before the pro races started to mess around with these two. Once the pro races begin, though, then it's time to stop screwing around. Like, those are the ones that Sunny King actually live streams out. And by the way, speaking of, you guys can watch the live stream if you'd like. I'm going to drop the link to Sunny King Criterium's YouTube channel into the chat. It's just sunnykingcriterium.com. Just take the spaces out. And yeah, there it is. Sunny King Criterium. I'm sorry, not .com. It's youtube.com/ I don't know why there's an @ there. That's weird. But yeah, youtube.com/ Sunny King Criterium. The entire live stream from yesterday is now up. It looks like they've got a little 45-minute probably trailer or something like that. And then they've got the whole 6-hour and 37-minute live stream. I actually didn't realize that the live stream was going. So the two pro races, the pro men's and pro women's, are an hour each. I didn't realize, and I thought that they started they start like the official live stream for those two races. I didn't realize that this was rolling for the 4 hours before that. So if you want the majority of the coverage, I get brought on to fly those pro races. That's the main thing that I'm there to do. On the way up to them, there's like collegiate level, there's like an over 40s group, there's a little kids race, and that's my time to test gear and make sure that the TV truck is getting my signal properly. They're going to color correct the footage that I'm sending them. get everything warmed up. This year, it was an amazing opportunity to further break in the new setups that I've got. So it was really, really nice. Usually, I spend a little bit more time posting on Instagram and like kind of schmoozing a little bit, talking to people, meeting some of the riders. This year, I just flew. I just flew battery after battery after battery, so that I could have a big old set of flight footage, basically so that I can compare. You know, I previously I've flown all 2.5-inch setups to keep it absolutely as small as possible. This is my new 2.5-inch setup. This is actually on 03, which works which is totally fine during the day. Not nearly as good when the light gets low. But yeah, flew a bunch of batteries with this. This is the Raxus frame. It's basically the QAV Cine frame that's been scaled up a little bit to hold the 03 system. The QAV Cine, which was one of my previous rigs for live broadcast work, is designed for the Vista, and the camera mount and everything is designed for that. The Raxus was made by BRAD down in Florida to work with the 03, and so that's what this build is set up with. I actually haven't even had a chance to pull the flight footage off of this yet. I will get that going right now. So I flew a bunch of batteries with this. Man, it is really hard to get. Sometimes like the motors and props are in like the exact wrong spot, and like you get rabies trying to get the memory card out. Although anything is better than the AOS Cine setups where I literally have to remove a standoff to get. I have to take the frame apart to get at the at the USB port. Luckily, I can get the SD card out of those, but regardless, yeah, I was able to get a bunch of batteries in with the 2.5-inch setup, with the 3-inch setup, and now with the 3.5-inch setup, which you guys didn't even see me finish because I kind of finished it last minute. And yes, it did work on bi-blades. I'm so happy. These are the HQ. Man, I can't read anymore. My eyes are getting old. I turn 45 next week, friends. These are the HQ 3.5 by 2.2 by 2 bi-blades. And on these T-Motor Pacer 1604 3800 kV motors? Yes, 3800 kV motors. This absolutely makes enough power, and it is an efficiency monster. I got 7 minutes out of this at one point. I was really, really happy about that. That's exactly what I was hoping. And it flies great. The little bit of extra weight really, really helps it stay nice and solid, because I can't output a stabilized footage to the TV truck, which I will absolutely admit I did make a mistake. I did not realize that when you put the field of view on 04 Pro to super wide or ultra wide, it's called ultra wide, I think, you can't, it doesn't record gyro data. In order to run your 04 Pro footage through GyroFlow, it has to be on wide field of view, 4x3, and obviously Rocksteady has to be off. You have to do all three of those things or else it doesn't record the gyro data. And so I can't stabilize any of this footage. But I've spent the last 2 months building this gear and dialing this gear in so that, because of the fact that I know that I can't send stabilized footage to the TV truck anyway, I put a lot of effort into setting this stuff up so that it doesn't need stabilization. Would I've preferred to be able to put all this footage through GyroFlow? Not all this footage, but the really good stuff. Yeah, for sure. I screwed that up. But I've got footage that's a little bit wider angle, so it'll look a little bit better. here's me looking on the bright side, right? So I got a little bit of a wider angle. Yay! Also, I filled up two 64 gig memory cards. So I have hours and hours and hours of flight footage to sort through. So some of it will be jumpy and jittery. Good to go. Get rid of it. Or just don't include it in whatever edit I do. So it cut down on the amount of like, good footage that I've got, which it's weird for that to be kind of a good thing, but I'm just being real with you here. And then the other thing is that when the quad is moving around, so yesterday was the first windless day, and there was still some wind, but like previous years in Anniston, Alabama, where this event is held, uh, there was like 20, 30 miles an hour wind. It was nasty the past 3 years. This year there was not. There were periods of time where it was completely still. And so the majority of the quad moving around is the draft coming off of these riders. And I think that's kind of cool. Like, in major motion pictures, they will hook up drills to the cameras with an offset weight, or in post, they will introduce camera shake to like convey a sense of action and like a sense of, and so there we go. Some of the flight foot, like if I do an edit with, I am going to try to do an edit with this. If you take shaky footage and you cut it in, leave it for like a second or two, and then get off of it, sometimes it looks really cool, especially if you do it properly with the music. And so, yeah, bright side, yo. There's always a bright side. But yeah, learned my lesson on ultra wide. You know what's incredibly frustrating is that both of them were on wide at the beginning of the day. But at these events, one of the first things that I do is go through all of the all of the settings on all of the quads to unify them. I put all of my white balance at 5500. I put all of the field of views the same, aspect ratio, everything that I can possibly put the same, I do, because I'm then going to send footage into the truck, and if I change if I change rigs, I don't want something to change on their side. I want everything to go into the truck as similar as possible, so that if they've put some color correction or if they've cropped or something like that, it doesn't all of a sudden change. And when I did that, that is when I changed both of these to ultra wide. I go into every single option just to make sure that I'm not missing something. And I went to the field of view option, and I was like, why is it on wide? What the hell? That's weird. Let me set it to ultra wide. I'm glad I checked. But it's fine. These things were really locked in. I was really happy with the way everything went flawless, which I did not think it was going to. 24 hours before the event, I thought I was going to have to fly all my old gear, because I ran into some crazy problems with Cosmo Streamer, and it was rough, man. I fell into a little bit of a depressive hole about a week ago, and it came on after, like, when I came home from Sloss. I was Sloss Drone Derby last Saturday. There was like a massive crash, and the depression just came and got me, man. And like Monday and Tuesday were pretty awful of last week. I started to kind of turn it around on Wednesday, I guess, but like, I don't know, my particular cocktail of major depressive disorder and generalized anxiety disorder, basically, like, I can try as hard as I want to dig out of a depression, and just, it doesn't, I can't like actively do it. I just have to kind of wait it out, and that's one of the most frustrating parts about it, if I'm totally honest, is that, like, I'll do all the things that I'm supposed to do. I'll exercise, I'll go for a walk, I'll really try hard to do things that I enjoy. Usually I can't bring myself to do the things that I enjoy, but sometimes I will, and I'll do them and I won't have any fun, and sometimes it'll even become like more frustrating. And it's just time. This is something that I've dealt with absolutely all my life, and I've been in talk therapy, and I've been in talk therapy for probably 15 years total, on and off, over the last 25-ish years. Um, I've done psychotherapy. I've tried lots of different medications, and this is just it. Some of the medications work, but the side effects are just kind of too much. And so, yeah, about to turn 45 years old. This is just the way that my brain works, and I've figured out the ways that, what I have to do to get through this. And it sucks, and I hate it, and it like limits me, but it yeah, it kind of is what it is. And so this last week was really, really rough. I had um like the week before any like really big gig like this, especially where I'm going to be flying like a whole new fleet of gear, right, with a video system that, like, sure, I've been flying O4 for a while, but um it's new, right? It was incredibly stressful, and like this last week was the week that like I needed to get all this stuff done. I'd gotten a ton of stuff done. There were a couple of things like getting the Cosmos streamer set up, that I didn't think would would be as challenging as they were. Um, but yeah, it was rough. Last week was really rough. This is the plight of everyone, I think, that I've at least talked to, that tries to do their own thing, and do something artsy or cool or whatever, not just like do the safe thing where you make good money and like kind of work for somebody else. Nothing wrong with that. I loved my 20s and 30s, just like having a solid job and healthcare and and just punching a clock. There's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of things that I actually miss about that, but there's sometimes it's just like it can very easily look unrealistic to do something like what I've been doing for the last 4 years, because on social media we only see the good parts of it, right? Like we only see the triumphs and the amazing shot that you got this month or this week. But yeah, the behind the scenes is it's messy, and so yeah, this was this was a struggle. This last week was really, really tough to get all this stuff ready. I am admittedly a perfectionist. I take safety at these events and just with FPV in general incredibly seriously. Like bordering on being the old fogey that like is way too concerned about it, and like misses opportunities because of it, and or misses like an epic shot because of it. But this is what I want to do. Like this is it for me. I'm really good at this. I like a lot of things that I've done in my life have all like fed into this, right? Like TV, radio, major at college. I shot still photography for almost 10 years. Video games all my life, right? To get good hand-eye coordination and move my thumbs around. Motorsport for my late 20s and early 30s, to keep my brain, like really work on getting my brain to take a lot of information in really fast and be able to deal with it like in a way that doesn't crush me. I would like to think that a superpower of anxiety is that, since like everything makes me super anxious, that I've learned to cope with that, right? And so yeah, like a lot of things have kind of led into this, and so I'm gonna be super, super, super safe all the time because it's a small world, right? Like there aren't many people doing this, and if you screw up, that could easily be the last job that you get. Probably not, but maybe, right? If it's bad enough, like that's that. And so, yeah, I take this really seriously, and I do as much as I can within reason to keep this absolutely as safe as possible. Um, and yeah, that takes effort. That takes a lot of thought and effort and struggle, unfortunately. But I've got a completely clean track record. I've flown hundreds and hundreds of gigs over the last 4 years, and I've not had a single mistake on set that, like, you know, that I didn't basically pre-plan. Like at these events, what I'll do when I'm testing range, for example, when there's nobody on track, is I will take the basically like the worst flying rig. In this case, it's this 2.5. It's got the worst antenna setup out of these three. And I will fly it really low to the ground until it fail safes. And then I will move my body so that I can take it back off. I'll move back to where I fly from, and I'll do it again and again and again and again. And I'll figure out where it fail safes at, like, between turn 3 and turn 4, between turn 1 and turn 2, when I drop really low here, like in specific spots that I would want to fly and film, I want to figure out where it fail safes. And so I don't always do that, but I do that a good amount. Also, to check like the ESC and the motor health, for example, every few batteries, when I fly the thing back to myself, I will hammer the throttle. Like I'll get it going really fast in like a safe spot, like in an empty parking lot. I'll get it going really fast. I'll swing it around and I'll hammer the throttle, and that'll put it into prop wash. So it's got all kinds of stuff going on. It's spinning the motors up and down, up and down. It's one of the hardest things you can do on a quad. And if it fall, and so last year, for example, the previous AOS Cine 2.5, not the V5, the OG one, I did that towards the end of the day. I came screaming in a safe space. I turned it around, and the ESC desynced, and it tumbled. I was really low to the ground. It tumbled on the ground. It actually smacked into a little brick wall, and it just obliterated the frame in a totally on purpose, and like without skipping a beat. I just like grabbed this, well, the QAV Cine, not this Raxus, but it looks just like this. I grabbed this one, plugged the next battery into it. I was right up in the air. Of course, I hadn't plugged it. My dad was actually with me last year. He just happened to be in town, so he came to hang out. And he was over there when it happened, so he grabbed it. I was like, unplug it, and he unplugs it. I plug this in, right back up in the air. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into it to be as safe as I can possibly be. You know, these cyclists are like the elite athletes. Like, these are the best Criterium cyclists in the country, and this is their career, right? Like, they're sponsored, they're on teams, and so it's there's some stakes here, and I take their safety super seriously. Like, I'm not gonna go down in front of the peloton, the big group of riders, and have them all going over their handlebars and have somebody get hurt, you know? And so I do lots and lots of stuff to keep that from happening. And yeah, when you over prepare like that, you can do what we do very safely, right? Look at Shaggy flying a sub 250 live broadcast drone in the Olympics, right? Like, there's no bigger stage. There's no higher risk scenario. Like, if there was ever a live broadcast event that would say, like, nah, drones are not safe enough for this, like, we've got literally the best athletes on the planet, like, we're not going to risk them because drones are not safe. If that was the case, guess what we would not have had? Chase footage hurtling down the fucking bobsled course, right? Like, it's with sports, there is a lot of risk. There was actually, unfortunately, a pro women's rider yesterday who had to get medevaced out. And there was a male rider last year or the year before that got impaled, and it was really, really bad. Like, there is a lot of risk in sports in general, right? Like, like at that elite level, like they're pushing their bodies to the absolute limit. And so you bring drones in and it's like, okay, what's the good side of drones? Well, the coolest camera angle imaginable. Like, just helps with storytelling, helps with everything, brings more attention to the sport. How many extra people watched the Olympics this year because of Shaggy's flight footage? Like 5 feet off the back of a bobsled going 80 miles an hour down there, right? Like, how many people saw that wouldn't have cared at all about the Olympics, that saw that come past their Instagram feed and stopped dead and went, holy shit, hold on, what's the Olympics on? Peacock? Let me, right? Like, I would love to see how many more subscribers Peacock got for the Olympics, right? Because of the drone coverage this year. So on the good side of it, right, you've got like this amazing thing. And sure, on the bad side, you've got a little bit of risk. But like, when there are folks that mitigate that risk really hard, and just from like the data that's out there and how infrequently those of us that actually pay attention to that have crashes happen, and when the crashes happen, they're usually safe because we don't fly like inside of, like, we take that seriously, right? Like, we chase, and so like, yeah, we crash, cool, they go away, right? And so if there was ever a scenario where it was like, you know what, drones are absolutely safe, that proves that, I think the Olympics is exactly that. And we're starting to see it, right? We're starting to see drones pop up, live broadcast drones pop up like everywhere. So in my opinion, and in most people who have cared to research it even a little bit, or just people that know anything, right? Not just morons and or Karens and or, right? It's incredibly safe, and the positives far outweigh the negatives. I'm having this discussion because one of the safety people was being pretty unreasonable. They don't have, they're not my boss, they don't have anything, and it was just like one guy kind of being a jerk, if we're really honest, like just throwing his weight around and just not knowing anything. But yeah, I did want to talk about that here for a little bit, because it is something that I hope all of us that are doing live broadcasts, certainly I, take incredibly serious. And yeah, people just don't get it, right? People just have no understanding of drones, especially FPV drones. You know, I can whiz by you at 50 miles an hour, 4 feet away from you, and as long as like my direction of travel, and as long as I have everything lined up, it couldn't be safer. I'm looking right at you. I'm not like flying straight at your face and then at the last second like jumping over you. That's insane, right? You get your direction of travel so that if you fall out of the air at any moment, you skid past, right? You never have your direction of travel like directly at somebody. You always kind of manage that. Yeah, it can be super safe, but people don't care to talk to you like a human being or learn anything or know anything. And you know, so yeah, there's that's the entire ride home I was just kind of fuming, because like I tried to I gave this guy like multiple chances. I tried to talk to him, I was super nice, and he was just like a total jerk, and I was like, you know, I tried, I really did. I tried to talk to this person like a human being, and he was totally uninterested. He, you know, came at me in a really disrespectful way from the jump. I felt like saying to him, like, dude, do most people treat you like shit? Because like, it's because you treat them like shit from the first interaction that you have with them. You should work on that, because that's a terrible way to go through life. Figure that shit out. So yeah, there's that. But I'm going to start playing some of the flight footage. There's absolutely no way that I can get through all of it, because I literally flew for almost 6 hours straight. Come on, Sony, you can do it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to throw some of the, you know what? Better yet, we're going to look through the weird flight footage. If you want to see like the best of the new 04 Pro rig flight footage, I'm going to do an edit. And you can watch the live coverage, which is kind of the way that you want to watch it, because in the live coverage they're talking about like what's happening. You've got the announcer especially for the pro races. You've got the announcer Brad, who is amazing. And you know, the TV truck is picking kind of the best of the best lines that I've got, and coverage that I've got, and it's just really, really cool. So watch that. But we're gonna take a look at some of like the little and silly stuff that I kind of flew around on the way up, because you know, most of you are FPV donkeys like me, and that's probably what you're interested in. So the first thing we'll take a look at is the Mobula 8. It's not actually a Mobula 8, it's a custom build, but it's weird. This is a custom build that by the end of this build, I had basically just built a Mobula 8. I didn't realize I was doing that, but so this is basically just a Mobula 8 with a motor swap. These are Flywoo Robo 1003. What are you, 18,000s? Nah, 14,800 kV motors on Gemfan 2015 propellers, biblades. And the batteries that I was running on this were Flywoo 420 MAH 2S and GNB 380 MAH 2S. Here's a secret. Those are the same battery. Why Flywoo claims it's 420 mAh and GNB claims it's 380 mAh, I have no idea. But they are the same battery. When you put them next to each other, they are the same battery with a different label. They weigh exactly the same. They perform exactly the same. Very, very weird. So those are the batteries that I was running on this. I've got the new Mobula 8 04 Lite canopy with the adjustable up tilt and the little bayonet mount for the Flywoo filters. This is with an ND8. It was relatively windless, but there was still a little bit of wind, and as any of you know that have flown fully framed tiny whoops in the wind, it's rough. They get kicked around by the wind quite a bit. Also, the 04 Lite does not allow me to run it in it basically doesn't allow me to shoot raw without the VTX adding in contrast. So this is very contrasty here. But yeah, this is me kind of screwing around with this guy. I think this was like one of the really early collegiate races that was going on. You can already probably see it shaking around quite a bit. And so, you know, this was just almost like proof of concept. Like, let's see how much wind this thing, let's see if the truck will take any of the shots from this. This is also a part of the sight testing that I do. This is like, have a safe rig in the air and see if I get any weird video blips, or see what the signal to noise ratio is doing, see what the link quality is doing, right? Start trying out some different lines. I had that building right there, which is really fun, of course. And so, yeah, it's all of this is testing the RF, which is incredibly important with these events that get a lot of spectators and have walkie-talkie, just basically a really loud noise floor, right? There's a ton of cell phones banging away from all the spectators. There's wireless mics all over the place. The TV truck has all kinds of antennas and all kinds of shit going on. There's corner cameras that are wireless. It is brutal. And so just putting batteries in, like getting ready for the main event, is incredibly important. I'm shocked. I mean, these are not pro riders, and these are not riders that are like standing up on their pedals pushing really hard, but it's kind of wild that a 2-inch tiny whoop can keep up with these guys. Yeah, it's wobbling around and it's not a clean shot, but I don't know, man. I wonder if I keep developing this build, if it could ever do that. I have a feeling the answer is no, because I've done quite a bit of development on this. I've tried quite a bit of different motors and props and all up weights and frames. But yeah, that I was pretty impressed by that. I kind of couldn't believe that was keeping up with those riders. But yeah, a little bit more flying from this guy so that you can just kind of see the problems. So the ND8 neutral density filter, allowed me to drop the shutter speed down low enough where we don't have jello, but it's just shaking around. Like the wind is hitting it in a way that it's shaking around. We do this pretty much every one of these events. On that run, I had way too much up tilt. We try to keep that door closed because there's air conditioning in there. And so I just gave it a shot because it's a toy. It's a kid's toy, right? But then after this, I dropped the up tilt down, and we did that one more time. And so there's me dropping the up tilt down. And so I was really hoping that this would be good enough because the timing worked out kind of perfect, but it's just not quite good enough. You can see the ducts in view now on the bottom of the screen. This is very low up tilt. This is maybe like 10 degrees of up tilt. The timing was perfect here. I flew it pretty decent. I had a little elevation drop there. Not totally happy with how I flew this, but it's a little too shaky. It's also a little bit too dark inside the truck. Between the ND8 filter and how I had the settings on this thing, it wasn't quite good enough. I don't think this will get used, but we try it every year. Every once in a while we use it, and so yeah, we have a ton of fun with it. Like the guy that just opened the door, that's Brad. He's like the main man that brought me in on this. He's also the announcer. He finds FPV to be the most. A lot of these guys find FPV to be fascinating, and like they watch more FPV stuff than most, and so we have a really good time together at these events. And then, of course, flying a tiny whoop around people, you get the greatest reactions. You get like nobody's freaked out, like everybody just thinks it's fun. That girl walked right over and asked me what it was, and like I was talking to her a bunch, and she's like, I want a drone so bad. And so like that little girl in the red was super sweet, asking me a whole bunch of questions. And yeah, this little setup behind me, there was a photography drone pilot there doing with one of the minis, Mavic 3 maybe mini, one of the sub 250, and so he was doing high drone is what we call them, like looking straight down stuff. Unfortunately, he actually backed into a power line towards the ends of the towards the end of the women's race. And you guys know Mavics, they don't really crash. Like, they crash once and then they go back to DJI. And so, yeah, unfortunately, we didn't have high drone for the men's pro race, but I did a pretty good job being able to cover it. Oh my God. Hold on. Nomad, Gemini Nomad, dual band, ELRS 900 2.4 is scary. Scary, scary, scary. 04 Pro, right? The best, strongest video link that we've ever had doesn't hold a candle to Gemini Nomad. 04 Pro on both of these rigs with good antenna placement, right? Like good quality antennas, brand new antennas, up at a perfect vertical, right? When I'm flying this thing up at a really nice angle. Even better on this one, even longer antennas on this one. These are true RC antennas. These are the actual DJI antennas. Really good antenna placement. No, when DJI would start to go orange, Nomad would go from 100 to 99 on the link quality. The signal to noise ratio was all over the place all day, but the link quality of Gemini Nomad with this admittedly really good antenna orientation, and also on my transmitter, I've got again a really good antenna setup. Where the hell is it? Where is it? No! I want to show you! My gear is a bit of a mess at the moment. Balls. I don't know where it is, but basically my antenna setup on the module on my transmitter is the standard one of the standard antennas that it comes with, perfectly vertical, and then the dual band T antenna. So I've got a horizontal T antenna and then a vertical regular linear antenna. And then I picked a good spot to stand, to be honest. That's always like the first 10-15 minutes of sometimes I don't have a lot of options, but there's always at least a little bit of an option. You got to stand in a really good spot. That is one of the keys, one of the big key things to having really good coverage. There's that propeller that I couldn't find last night. I just rolled over it with my chair. So yeah, oh my God. I was so impressed by Gemini Nomad. There was a minute, but before so I have RSNR, signal to noise ratio, and link quality in my OSD. And the signal to noise ratio was going all over the place. It was actually going down to like -1 and -2 every once in a while. And initially I was like, ooh, like when I was testing the site with this thing, I was like, ooh, what's going on there? And then after like that happening a couple times, I looked over at the link quality and it's pinned at 100. And I was like, oh. And then I would kind of like look around and I'd be like, oh, okay, there's maybe a cell phone antenna here, or maybe there's a Wi-Fi antenna over there, and maybe I'm just near a business that has Wi-Fi that's cranking. But yeah, holy cow, the link quality was so strong all day. I don't think I saw less than 99 on the link quality all day, which is ridiculous because when we lost the high drone, I started, well, here, I'll show you. I will show you. So I started doing the high drone loop, basically. And so towards the end of the event, so will this have it in there? Yeah, so here you go. So I was covering between turns 4 and 1, and then high drone was just, 399 feet up, chasing the rest. But when we lost that, I just said, you know what? I can fly high. Like when we fly high, we have great line of sight. And so I just started doing the run. This one, I did it through the middle of the block, but some of them, I would literally chase them around the entire racetrack. And now with these more efficient setups, I was able to do that. Previously, with the 2.5-inch builds, I would not have been able to have the runtime to do that because you're pushing against the wind. You're going like 30, 35, 40 miles an hour the whole time. It kills the battery. Like what I would always do is I would run my run and then I would slowly fly back, just limp it back to the beginning of my coverage area again. Whereas this time I was able to just cover. I would always kind of turn because I would always turn like that because they would come off of my camera and I would just want to like reposition myself. Also, that was one of the spots that I was having the hardest time with signal strength. And so I would always throw away that turn 1. I always wanted to just up elevation and then chase them. Also, when I go up elevation, I go faster than them. So I would almost have to do that turn to let them get a little bit of a gap. But here you go. I was doing some of that high drone work and it looks really good. It's, kind of boring, right? For us FPV lunatics. But this tells a part of the story. You know what I mean? Like this is an amazing shot for the TV truck to snap to. And then I think, this is towards the end of the men's pro race. And this is, again, that's me making a gap so that I can now, I got told by the TV truck to show the peloton. And so make that gap and then come up here and accelerate through the front. You can see the quad getting bounced around a little bit. That's because I dropped a little bit too low. And there you have it, right? This is what you can't see. You cannot see all this stuff that's going on, all this strategy, where each individual team rider is. This is like the guy that brought me into all of this, Brad Soner, he describes that right there. He's been into cycle racing forever. He's as nuts about cycle racing as I am about motorsport and FPV and all this. Right. He describes that right there, what you just saw, as like the shot that he dreamed of for years. And like 4 years ago when he brought me into the first Sunny King, he was just it was exactly what he was looking for. And yeah, it just completely blew him away. And it's an honor every year to have him come to me at some point, because like at this point I've worked with him so many times that he's kind of seen it all. Like he's kind of seen all that FPV has to give in these cycling events, right? I've done like, I don't know, almost 10 of these, and he's been there at most of them. But it's a true honor every year at this event for him to come to me and be like, "Yo, that shot was super sick. I haven't seen you do anything like that before." Like that's like high praise. You know what I mean? And so yeah, this is really cool stuff. So right before the pro races, they do this adorable little kid race. And so the tiny whoop was obviously like the perfect thing to chase the little kids around with, super safe, and all that. And so I did that. I think it was a little bit windy. Yeah, look at this. So there's a flag here in front of me. Here's a flag. Look at all that wind. Right, so this is like legitimately windy now, and we're down below all these buildings, so this is like that swirling wind that's really, really nasty. Again, flying a tiny whoop, all the reactions from people are great. The contrast is a bit rough because this is 04 Lite, right? This is not 04 Pro. This is a tiny little sensor, and so the contrast is not going to be as good as being able to flip the 04 Pro into D-Cinelike, I think is what DJI calls it, but it's basically just raw, no compression. And so, yeah, this is a little rough. I can probably bring this back to life a little bit in Premiere. But, like, look at the reactions from people, right? Like, I'm flying a drone around, like, a foot from human beings, and every single one of them is smiling and laughing and pointing and, like, oh, it's, like, everything is cool. These two had that, like, deer in the headlights reaction, but what you don't get with this is, like, the kind of thing, right? Like, it's just, these little ones are just so magic for this kind of stuff. Look at these guys. They had a great reaction. Big old smile. And you can do stuff like this completely safe, right? It's a stupid little plastic kid's toy. Like, just too cool. Too effing cool. I am going to spend a little bit more time trying some... I want to try 1202.5s on this, because I wonder if I can get even more response time to clear up a couple of these little wobbles and bobbles that this thing is getting. Maybe not, because it's a plastic thick frame, right? It's like aerodynamically horrible. But I am going to keep trying, because this is just amazing to be able to get stuff like this. Look at this old guy, ready? The old guys that are usually the ones that hate on new technology. Look at this guy, ready? Look at him. Look at him. He taps his buddy, and he goes, look, and he's got like this awesome little smile on his face. Look at him. Look at him. Look at that. Look at that. Does that look like I'm flying something unsafe around someone? Come on now. So yeah, the Mobula 8 was an absolute blast. This was just too cool. I wish that there were, like, half the day there was no wind at all. And, like, of course, as soon as I started doing this, I'm like, of course now is going to be when the wind kicks up. I was getting pushed by the wind pretty good. But, yeah, this is awesome. This is just the coolest thing ever. Super, super, super fun. And then here are the slightly older kids. You can see, again, just getting kicked by the wind. Look at this. Look at this come from behind victory, though. This kid burned himself out. He rode too hard on the front part, and he got. Look at this. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. Oh, he didn't get him. I thought that he got him. He almost got him. Look at that. So yeah, that was the kids race. Unbelievably, my 04 Lite footage, I can run through GyroFlow. The 04 Lite recorded the gyro data, and so I can run all of the 04 Lite footage through GyroFlow to stabilize it. And so this is that. We're now 16:9. You don't have the ducts in view on the bottom, and this is now stabilized. I did not horizon lock this because I don't think that's a good idea for the 04 Lite. Little tiny sensor. But yeah, this is like has a little bit of stabilization, so the majority of those wobbles and bobbles are kind of gone from this, which is really, really, really cool. So it was really bad when we were sitting here, right? And so look at it now, ready? So it was nasty right now. Remember a second ago, it was bobbling all around. Look at that. just rock solid, just totally locked in. Gyro flow is so impressive now. And then I thought I did one more. Didn't I do one more with the little 2-inch whoop? Yeah, I did. I don't remember what it was, though. What was I doing? Oh, no, I guess that was it. So that's the... Oh, I forgot. I wanted to be pulling flight footage off these other cards while I did that. That was like the whole point. Sorry I'm ignoring chat, but let me just rip through all this. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off, and we'll talk about all this stuff, and then I'll get caught up on chat. MP4. So this, what I'm pulling off right now, is the Avada Killer. And no, it's not. This is this is the Raxus. I already got the footage off the Avada Killer. This is the Raxus. Yeah, I didn't get home until, oh god, I don't know, 11:30, 12 last night. And then I got all obsessed with some of the footage and ended up staying up really, really late, just kind of farting around with this footage. Also, I want to get this footage onto a Google Drive that I can set. So I've got, for the past 3.5 years flying these events, I've done almost 10 of these events. I've done them in Miami Beach, on the beach. I've done these events in just all over the place. I have not been able to record anything. When you use the Pro controller, the DJI $1,000+ Pro controller, you cannot record at the same time. I guess it uses whatever CPU it would normally use for DVRing to send the footage out. And so I have no DVR from any event that I've ever flown until yesterday. And I went from that, and so like I would put the Insta360 Go 2 up in the air every once in a while, right? So I do have some HD footage, but so I went from that to having like 6 hours of 4K 60 flight footage. So it's the world's gone mad. By the way, t-shirt of the day, my mom got me this t-shirt for Christmas. This is a totally one of those Instagram marketing wins. And it's true. It is very, very true. So, yeah, spread some love, my friends. Here's the Avada 2 killer. So, you can either buy an Avada 2, or you can build something like this that gets admittedly less runtime, but has way better flight performance. And I would argue significantly, I don't need to argue it, Nomad is better than DJI's controller link. Significantly better control link performance. And the same camera system, right? Our 04 Pro camera systems are just the Avada camera and VTX. And so this is a FPV Cycle Cinesplore fully ducted Cinewhoop that you would normally put a action camera on. I could certainly still put an action camera on this, but I built this around the 04 to be as light as possible. The Cinesplore frame is incredibly lightweight. These motors, these are Brother Hobby 2004 3450 kV motors. These are very, very lightweight 2004s. The Brother Hobby VY series have titanium motor shafts, titanium screws, and then we're running the Gemfran tri-blades, 4S 850s. This will do on a 4S 1050. I think I had this up in the air for 15 minutes at one point. The runtime is wild. This is not really for chasing these cyclists because of these big, thick ducts, right? This is for going really slow. I forget what I was just going to say. But yeah, this is for going slowly, which there's always opportunities to go really slowly. It looks like I forgot to turn this thing onto D-Cinelike, which is super annoying, so you're seeing it with a bunch of contrast pushed in. The Anniston Fire and Police Department are always here, and they're always super cool. I talk to them every year. And so when they heard me coming, they got all excited. I saw them. I was right across the way there, And so I saw him throwing the football. I was like, let me go say hi to these guys. I actually hadn't walked over there and talked to them yet. And so, yeah, they got all excited when they saw me come, and they knew exactly who it was. When I went and talked to them afterwards, they're like, yeah, we knew it was you. So, yeah, I hung out with these guys. Hopefully there's a good... this should be... I'm assuming this is in 60 frames, right? Let's see. Yep, this is 60 frames a second. So there's probably a really, really nice little, like, 2-second thing that I can grab from this, just kind of whopping around with the Avata killer. You can really see, like, those full ducts, like, they just make it fly so slow, and, like, when you flatten out, it's so slow, and then when you want to pick up any speed, you look down a lot, and so you can kind of use that, like them throwing this football, for example, right? Like, you can drop down flat, the big tall ducts slow it down so it, like, freezes, right? It doesn't slide around a lot, and then you can try to chase the football and get like a downward angle on the football, and it's just a totally different look, right? Like, the full duct gives this a totally different look, almost like a tiny whoop kind of look to this footage, right? Versus the more open duct style frames, they're much more slidey, right? Like, you can see through this thing, and so this is going to slide a lot more, so you get much different footage. In order to go fast with this, you only have to put the nose down a little bit, and it'll start going really fast. With the full ducts, you got to bury the nose to get any actual speed. And so, yeah, totally different look. I was very curious if I would be able to pace these riders. This is actually not a race. This is just like kind of open track time almost. So they're just out there kind of warming up and whatnot, having fun. And so this is when I do a good amount of the testing. Again, just spending more time moving the quad around, move it to different locations, see what happens with the RSNR, the link quality, see what DJI is doing, right? What megabit per second is it? Is it dipping down? Is it going orange? Is it going red? All that jazz. And so, yeah, this is my Avata killer, Cinesplorer with 04 Pro, basically, as the HD video system. I really wish that I hadn't forgotten to turn on D-Cinelike, but to be honest, I had no intention of really doing anything with this other than just putting it up in the air, flying a battery, and having another thing to kind of show you guys as to what flight footage, how much different flight footage looks with a fully ducted rig versus these, I see people calling these box frames Cinewhoops. I don't buy it. Like, this is not a Cinewhoop to me. This is a box frame build. It's completely different. Like, Cinewhoops are for going really slow, really controlled, and being able to, like, absolutely stop. And that's like a whole different thing. So there you go. There's a quick battery with the Avata killer. Does anybody know why the DJI Pro is chopping the files at 3 minutes and 43 seconds? That's kind of annoying from a gyroflow standpoint, because gyroflow will not match up. If you give gyroflow a file and it chops in the middle of it, and then you stabilize both the beginning and after, the gyroflow is never going to match up between those two. And so that's kind of annoying. And why 3 minutes and 43 seconds? Why is that the amount of time? Like, the GoPros, if you don't turn it off in GoPro Labs, they'll cut the files at 5 minutes. But 3 minutes and 43, and like by the time you've been flying for 5 minutes, like, you're usually coming into land. 3 minutes and 43 seconds, like, that happened a lot. Kind of weird, right? Raxus flight footage is up. So here is 2.5 inch 03 flight footage. 2.5 inch box frame 03. Wow, lots of motion blur. I wonder what I had so I know what I had the settings on. I had them on 1/60th of a second. So you're looking at 1/60th of a second, and it looks like I've got an ND16 on there. Yep, ND16, middle of the day, 1/60th of a second. Let's go to... Oh, What's in view on the bottom? Oh, that's the ND filter in view in the bottom left and right corners. In the top a little bit as well. I'll be damned. So here's a little bit of I don't know if this is a race. No, it's not a race because the car is sitting there. So this is just some more warm up stuff. Yeah, everybody's kind of chilling. Perfect time to test stuff. Again, this is the rig this is like third level backup build. This is the one that I use to really test the site. I don't bother recording when I test the fail safes because it's just the most boring flying ever. And so I've already fail safed this thing a bunch to figure out where the bitter limits of my range were. I will say this. I can absolutely tell the difference between 03 and 04 from a range perspective. This thing with 03 would go orange and red way earlier than 04. So DJI absolutely made 04 perform significantly better. And the antenna placement for 03 on this is really, really good. This is proper antenna placement. This is DJI's antenna. It's a good quality antenna. So yeah, we knew this. Like, plenty of people have done 03 versus 04 range tests, and 04 always wins. But it's cool to personally experience that. I gotta be honest, I'm kind of bummed out that there's this much ND filter in view. That would kind of force me to crop in on this a little bit. That's a shame. But yeah, there you go. There's a little bit of 2.5-inch box frame flight footage with lots of motion blur. That 1/60th of a second. Look at this, man. Good Lord. Look at all that blur. Yeah, really, really nice sense of speed. But then, hold on, let's see. Can I get a frame where I'm perfectly pacing the riders? I'm accelerating a little bit here. Yeah, I'm letting them come by me. It's hard to perfectly pace these guys. They change speed too. Oh, yo! There's a frame. Not perfectly clean, but really close to it. Look at that, yo. Yeah, that's... So, 03 in the middle of the day, really good. Really, really good. Are these collegiate? I think... I'm not sure. I'm not sure if these are collegiate guys, but the pros are next level fast. But some of these collegiate guys are some of the non-pros are also really, really fast. It's very, very impressive. Hard to keep up with at times. The VIP area was empty earlier in the day, and so I flew through it with the Raxus, just really lightly, staying away from everybody. But yeah, big difference. Look at the difference between a tiny whoop, which you already saw flying through there, and a 2.5-inch box frame. Ready? So like, just from like a confidence standpoint, right? Like, you can see it. Like, I'm not just like chilling, hanging out. I'm like, don't kill anyone. It's only a 2.5-inch rig, right? It's incredibly safe, but still, like, compared to a 2-inch tiny whoop, it's kind of absurd, the difference in going really slowly and changing directions really, really quickly. You know what I mean? What else do we have? I think I did like 2 more batteries with this. Yeah, here you go. So here is Women Collegiate. I can see SCAD jerseys. South Carolina Art and Design, I think, is that university. So yeah, the Women Collegiates ripping up the hill. Let's see what else we got. Oh, this looks like a nice little run. Yeah, here we go. A lot of this practice is also learning where all of those power lines are and really drilling into my head where every single one of them are. This race course is like 2 blocks over from from where it's been the last 3 years, and for whatever reason on this street, like every single one of these power lines going across the street is diagonal, which I don't think I've ever really dealt with before. And good God, the power lines being diagonal like that is way harder to deal with. They throw a very strange shadow on the ground. And it's just way harder to deal with. When you see me pitch up and down, almost like I'm saying yes, I am saying yes. The TV truck is talking to me and asking me a question, or in this case, they were telling me that the leader was about to cross the start-finish line. And so they said, can you get back to the start-finish line for the leader? And I'll pitch up and down to say yes. I also yaw left and right to say no if they ask me for something that I can't do, or if I'm about to like line up a pass, but there's not quite enough battery left, and they're about to take my camera, I'll start yawing left and right. No, don't take my camera. And then they won't flip to my camera on the feed. Or just any other scenario that I need to, say no to them. And yeah, I didn't quite get to the start finish line in time. I could have buried the nose and like really flown back to try to get there, but it's just not worth the risk. Going the wrong way on the course like that is always like, avoid at all costs. And so if I can see that it's totally empty, and also like I'm standing right there so I can hear that there's no one there, I will do it to try to get myself back. But like, I'm not going to do it at full throttle, right? Full throttle is where bad things happen. And so like, yeah, it's avoid full throttle at all costs, other than when I fly these things back and hammer them in the parking lot to make sure that the ESC or the motors are not, getting weak or about to desync or anything like that. You can see the 2.5-inch rig getting kicked around by the wind a little bit here. I absolutely noticed a difference. So this is on tri-blades. It's on the Azure 2540 tri-blades. I absolutely noticed a difference. You can kind of see the flag there. It is windy. Look right over here at this flag. I noticed a big difference between the 2.5 and the 3, and then another noticeable difference between the 3 and the 3.5 in terms of dealing with the wind. That was really the big thing. The 3 and 3.5 flew staggeringly similar. I think because the 3-inch rig is on tri-blades and the 3.5 is on bi-blades, so like total blade surface area is probably pretty close. But yeah, I could totally notice it in the wind. Although the biggest difference was between the 2.5 and the 3 and 3.5. That was like absolutely night and day. Yeah, 2.5s are tough. You're really asking a lot in wind at 30 plus miles an hour. From a very small propeller, right? A 2.5-inch prop, like in comparison to a 1.2-inch propeller. Yeah, sure, it's huge, but like in comparison to things that fly outdoors, that's a little prop. 2.5 inch is a small prop. That's blending the lines between indoor and outdoor stuff, right? I mean, it's kind of solidly outdoor, but you know what I'm saying. Was that just the Mavic Mini that flew by? No, it was just a lens glare that went away. So here's the here's the Raxus box frame. It's on. I was pretty happy with the motors that it's on. It's on these Axis Power C145 Cine 1405 motors. Pretty sketchy to have these safety guys standing out on the racetrack, if you ask me. One would think that, you wouldn't want a human being standing out on a track. I don't know. Maybe it's just the motorsport guy in me coming out, but I don't know. A little bit weird when grouchy safety guys are potentially the least safe, or are causing situations that are unsafe. So there you go. There's some Raxus stuff for you. 2-inch whoop Raxus. Let's take a look at everybody's favorite, the 2-inch baby turtle. And I'm just going to plug straight into this guy. I had a blast flying this thing around. If the video quality was a little bit better, if there was D-Cinelike on this, I would have probably flown this for some of the so like at least one battery for one of the pro races. So we're just going to name this Baby Turtle. And where is it? Internal storage? Yeah. All right, so let me just get this copied off real quick here. And all right, so that's going. Let me at least attempt to get caught up a little bit on chat while that's transferring 23 gigs. Doc Holiday, YouTube did the thing. J Tux, Chaser, Mr. Clean, Swiss Links, Uriel, Planka, Flycadelic, Levster, Frank Dr. Nicholas, Gusto, Uriel, Uke, The Duke, TX2 Stomp, Sporny, Adam Weatherall, Mupshot. What's up, people? If you want the gangly man to read your name, you got to get here early and say hello, or you can just type at CiottiFPV. Like Cole FPV did, he says, is this 03 or 04 Pro or Light? At the intro of the live stream, it was 04 Pro. Apache Smoke Wood and Snipers in the house. What's up, brother? He says, how are you doing? Long time I could join. I'm currently testing the new 2S AIO from T-Hobby. That's cool. Let us know how it is. There are not a lot of options in the 2S AIO world. It's always nice to have another one. Striker Tag Me, says, I'm going to start doing FPV for work soon, probably within the next month or two, getting my Part 107 cert right now. Some of my parents' buddies do real estate. Very cool. Need to build a Cinewoop for indoors. I assume 2.5 is the right size. What action cam should I use? Frame recommendations, just general suggestions for someone starting to fly FPV as a job. That is about an hour-long conversation. Over on CiottiFPV.com, my little Linktree website, is a link to my Patreon, which is the best way for you guys to support me if you like these live streams and would like to see them continue, since YouTube doesn't pay anything, and I don't even bother monetizing these because I would rather you not watch the commercials, and then me get 1/10 of a penny per you watching per view. It's no money. There is a link to my Fiverr over there. There's also an Etsy store where you can buy all kinds of fun stuff. There's a whole bunch of affiliate links, but there's a link to my Fiverr page where I have gigs. You're basically buying my time. You can buy a half an hour or an hour of my time, and I can help you fly better, build better, tune better, teach you how to solder, all the things. One of those gigs is build planning. A build planning session consists of me asking you 20 to 30 different questions, the answers to which I need to know to recommend a frame, motors, propellers, electronics, video platform. And I've tried to do build planning sessions in a half an hour, and it only really works for folks that are kind of just flying for fun. Folks that are diving into professional work, it's a big conversation. It's an hour-long conversation. So yeah, I can't help you here on the live stream, Striker. It's just way too big of. I can't get the answers to the questions that I need from you through chat, and it's just way too big of a question. But that's great that you're starting to do that stuff. The long and short of it is that you want to be as light as possible. You want the tallest ducts you can possibly get. My favorites are the Cloud 149 ducts. Look at these monsters. These are some of the tallest ducts that exist. And so if this thing looks like a brick aerodynamically, that's on purpose. I want this to stop. And if I want to fly forward, I want to have to put some serious nose down. And then if I pitch back a little bit, I want it to stop again. That's how you do really, really accurate flying. It flies like a sack of assholes. Like if there's wind, or if there's wind, you work with it, you surf the wind basically. But like from an aerodynamic standpoint, this is a disaster. But from I want to take a camera and move a heavy camera and move it an inch to the right and have it like slow down and not slide all around and whatnot. And I want to be absolute pinpoint accurate. That's how to do it. And then, yeah, lightweight. The the less weight there is, the less slide there's going to be. And so, yeah, that's what you want to be looking for. Cole FPV says, unlike hockey, cycling is a sport where the flying V actually makes sense. Sorry, Mighty Ducks. You're not wrong. Flagadelic, thumbs up in the chat if you grew up on Mighty Ducks, if you're an 80s kid like me. Flagadelic says, at what point in the hobby did you land on your current rates and stay with them? That's a great question. Or have they always been the same? No, my guess would be 3 or 4 years in. But every few years I'll revisit. Although I haven't done it in a long time because I've been doing this so long, to be really honest. But yeah, every 6 months to a year, I'm going to say, you should land. You should pitch forward and yaw left at the same time to get into the OSD, the Betaflight OSD. You should go into rates and you should grab one of your values across pitch, roll, and yaw, and you should move it up a bunch or move it down a bunch and fly a couple of batteries and see if it's worth it. Like, you'll know, you'll probably hate it initially, but that's not it. It's not just like, I hate it, put it back. No. That's not the point. You're not going to like it because it's going to feel different. But what's different about it? And that is how you learn rates. You don't go to fucking ChatGPT. For the love of God, don't use AI for anything in FPV as far as I'm concerned. Maybe some things, but certainly don't use it to set your rates. You make changes to your rates and you honestly think about it. And you honestly analyze what's different, and is that the way? And for me, what's going on in my head is, does this make the flight footage look the way that I want it to look? For those of you that aren't delivering flight footage to clients, what you should probably be thinking is, am I having more fun, maybe? Or whatever, you do you, but the goal for me at some point became delivering flight footage that is able to be incorporated into music videos, short films, live broadcasts, whatever. And in that world, most flight footage is locked horizon, steady as hell, right? Steady cam life, gimbal life, or just locked down to a tripod, right? And so my rates evolved when I got more into cinematic flying to be incredibly smooth. Thus, a shitload of expo, right? 0.7 expo in actual rates. My max rotational rate has always been around 600 to 700 because that's what Betaflight stock rates were, and I never wanted it to be any more than that. And then the center stick sensitivity is something that I dialed in as well. And it's I like it at 40, which is pretty low, but down all the way, it's a little bit too dead. And then even up at I love the idea of doing 70 center stick sensitivity, 700 max rotational 0.7 expo, just to have all sevens. But the center stick sensitivity at 70 is a little bit too much. I really like it pretty much exactly at 40. So yeah, your rates should be kind of fluid based on where you're at in your journey, what you're doing, right? If you start flying cinematic, your rates should probably change. If you're just if you go from flying cinematic to flying freestyle for fun and bandos, your rates might change. So yeah, you should look at them all the time. And then when you do that, when you constantly revisit them and you move them a significant amount so that you can tell the difference, you will figure out what the deal is. You will very quickly realize exactly what Expo does, exactly what center stick sensitivity does, exactly what throttle Expo does if you really want to dial your shit in. So yeah, great question, dude. Uriel says, I hope for you other gigs like that come to you. Thank you, dude. I do as well. Uke says, I tried watching it live, but I think it was too early, and I don't know when it was actually going to start. Well, you can watch it not live. It's all the same. Uriel says, congrats, the gift is on the way. Oh, nice, dude. Thank you. Uriel is sending over a Flywoo 04 Lite with the wide-angle camera, so we'll get to check that out. That'll be fun. Ramalala says, takes 3 months to repair and a day and a half to have to fix it all again. Think the tree toppers need 12 amp ESC twig thing? Yes, the tree toppers almost certainly will need a 12 amp ESC. FPV Malik says, what do you do if the receiver copper red wire snaps off Beta FPV Matrix 5-in-1 and you lose it? Is there a place to buy a new one? Is it fixable? So that is your ELRS antenna, and that's just a tuned piece of wire. It's the right length. So you can literally search the internet for correct length for 2.4G antenna, and you're going to get a bunch of different answers because antennas can be half wave, quarter wave, fifth wave. There's a bunch of different answers, but the typical length that we go with in FPV is this, 31.23 millimeters. So if you take any old piece of wire, best bet is to use non-stranded wire. Like a Tiny Whoop motor wire is 30 gauge stranded wire. Stranded means there are individual strands. There's actually usually 8 of them inside of a 30 gauge wire. So there's 8 individual strands inside of the silicone. That'll work, but even better is if you can find a piece of non-stranded wire. My little life hack is Newbie Drone. On Newbie Drone's website, they sell these little, for 25 cents each, they sell little tiny 2.4 antennas. It's just a little itty bitty piece of single stranded wire. It's cut to the right length and you solder it on and you're done. But you don't have to do that. You can fix it right now by taking any old piece of wire that you've got, cut it to 31.23 millimeters, and solder it up to the little tiny through hole where that nice red antenna was, and you'll be back in business. Totally fixable. Jimmy the Cow says mop, not moo today. It's mop. Today he's a janitor today, not a cow. Uriel says same shit here last week. That's why I delay. Sorry, no worries, brother. Doc Holiday says the swings are also from solar cycles. Try ground balancing barefoot, a hand on trees. I think Doc Holiday is being silly. But if he's not, it's okay. We all do our own thing. Jimmy the Cow says, I meant to say moo. No, you didn't. You're a janitor today. TX2 Stump says, thanks for sharing your struggle. I too deal with depression. The struggle is real. Keep your head up, brother. Thank you, man. Sorry you have to go through this bullshit, but we're in it together, goddammit. Ramallah says, you know the day becomes the night. Does indeed. Cole FPV says, have you thought about using an SMA extension to place your TX/VRX signals in a better spot? SMA extensions cause all kinds of loss, and they just never seem to work all that well. And so, yeah, I don't really know many people that have had any luck with SMA extensions more than like a foot. And so, yeah, and more than a foot is not going to really accomplish anything. Also, like your transmitter is now tethered to something, and it's yeah. It would be cool. We every year we talk about putting me up on a rooftop to fly from. Apparently, we could have actually done it this year. So I don't know, maybe next year, but. I don't know. We make it work. We get plenty of coverage. It would be nice to drop down really low. It's, like when I test the RF at the beginning of the day, I fly this thing an inch off the ground. A, because it's gonna fail safe, and I don't want it to hammer into the ground and explode. But B, because an inch off the ground is the worst. That is going to have the most shit in between you and the quad. It is the worst RF situation to be really, really, really low to the ground. And if I was up on a rooftop, it would actually make that situation a lot better. But the problem with being up on a rooftop is you're up on a rooftop and like, God forbid it goes down. You got to like run around to go down the stairs, and God forbid you climbed up a fucking ladder. Like there's pains in the ass. It's going to be hot up there. You're going to be away from everyone. Yeah. So it's interesting. Striker did some research with his buddy about a year ago, and built him an AOS Synod 2.5 for his real estate stuff. I built his on Vista. I assume it's probably a fine option for analog still, right? How'd we go from a Vista to analog? I don't totally understand the question, but what I will say is that the Cinesplorer that I held up a minute ago with the big tall ducts is analog. I have a full cinematic gear setup here that's analog, in case for some reason analog is the right choice for that particular gig. But digital is great too. The image clarity of Vista's 03, 04 is phenomenal. It has its own benefits. Analog has some benefits too. So yeah, there's no straight answer to that. Kim Fuse is in the house. She says, "You have nerves of steel. My thumbs will be shaking. Nicely done. Thank you." The very first live broadcast rig event that I did, there were nerves for sure, and I worked them out and worked through it. Again, living with pretty severe anxiety, I've learned many different ways to handle it over the years. The second one that I did was a lot better. I've done enough now where it's just all fun. It's just this incredible challenge, and it's an incredible subject, and there's a story unfolding, and it's just fucking cool, man. It's just so good. And so yeah, the nerves are almost non-existent now. Every once in a while, if I'm coming in really hot towards that scaffolding, I'll just kind of glance up at it and be like, "Ooh, easy, buddy." Because like I gotta get under that scaffolding, and I don't want to be like chopping the throttle when I get near it. And so there's like a very specific like flight path that I get on probably like 4 or 5 seconds before I get to that scaffolding, so that I have a perfectly smooth and clear path to get under it, so that it's just infinitely safe, right? Like no changes. I've also talked to the cyclists quite a bit to make sure that they're comfortable with me flying around them, because these things aren't silent, right? They make noises, and like they're in a race. Like we're there to cover that, but I want to have zero impact on them from like them performing at their top level standpoint, right? And most of them were like, "Dude, no, holy shit, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, are you kidding me?" But a couple of them have been like, have basically said that as long as I'm steady, as long as I'm on a totally steady path, they don't even notice me. And the only time they ever notice me is if I make like a turn or something like that. That's the only time that they'll ever even notice that I'm there. But like if I'm on a totally steady path, they're just like, "Nope, like we can hear you, but like you're just there hanging out with us." And over the years, like, yeah, they absolutely love it. Like I'll come up and congratulate them afterwards, and there's a couple of them that follow my Instagram page, like Clever Martinez, who was one of the guys on one of the winning team on the winning men's pro team, and he's like, "Oh, dude," it's super, super, super fun. But yeah, they love it, which they should, right? Like it makes their sport look infinitely more interesting, which drives more money into it, right? Like the athletes absolutely love what the production crew does. So yeah, it's really, really cool. Amazing people. Euro says bicyclers over here are a menace, feeling owning the road. Well, they're allowed to be there, brother. Like they're totally allowed to be there. And as Cole says, bicycles were here first. Cars are the entitled bastards. Absolutely. absolutely never get upset with a biker. They have just as much right to that road as you. Just because you rode your bike down the sidewalk doesn't mean anything. They have all the right in the world to be on the road. All the right in the world. And to be like to be really honest, Florence is petting at the window. To be really honest, a lot of amazing human beings that have been very into cycling have died because of assholes in cars. And so I'll bet you not many car drivers have been killed by bicyclists, right? And so yeah, no, cyclists absolutely get the right of way. Even if you feel like they're being entitled, it doesn't matter. They have just as much of a right to be there as we do in our cars. You gotta shift that in your head. It's important. It's actually really important because it is very easily to kill a human being that's out getting exercise who has all the right in the world to be on that road. Be careful. Ramalala says, I guess juicing is allowed in these power cycling tournaments. CiottiFPV to appeal. I'm sure that it's not. I'm sure that they have to do drug tests and all that stuff. American Criterium Cup, it used to be called American Criterium Cup. Now it's called USA Cycling, I believe. They're a full-blown sporting organization. You know, they're not as big as the NFL, but they're, you know, along the same lines. All right, so here's some baby turtle footage, yo. Look at this little shit. USA Crit. They changed their name to USA Crit, or maybe they got bought or something like that. Look at the contrast of the 04 light in comparison. I'll be interested to see if I can pull any details out of these shadows. This is in the middle of the day, not a single cloud in the sky, right? So this is the worst case scenario. But yeah, look at this little 50 gram or whatever the hell it is. No ND filter on this. So we had an ND filter on the 2-inch Whoop, but we do not have an ND filter now. And so we will probably see a little bit of jello. Boy, the difference in cruising speed. These are both 2-inch setups, right? These two guys have the same exact props. I think they even have the same exact motors. I think they're both on 1003s. But good Lord, not having the prop guards, as we of course know, makes a massive difference. It's so funny to fly these two things back to back. It does make it handle the wind a little bit better, but it's still, yeah, it's still getting mashed in the wind for sure. Yeah, so there's some jello, there's some shakes. And so I'm up high. I'm not in the draft of these riders, so that's just the wind kicking it around. I am definitely looking to get a bigger motor onto this 2-inch baby turtle with the 04 light to be able to handle that better. Because yeah, the tune is pretty locked in. I don't know how much else I can do, and this is what this thing is meant for, right? This is meant for flying outdoors. So I got to figure out a way to get this thing locked in a little bit better than this. When the wind calms down, it's perfect. But, you know, when you're flying outside, you're going to have wind. Yeah, this is cool. This is, again, one of the... this might be like the men's over 40 race. There's a whole bunch of... I don't want to call them amateurs, but I guess they kind of are amateur cyclists that race before the... Yeah, I guess they are all amateurs. If they're not pros, you're an amateur, right? But yeah, still a big group of them. Very, very cool. The lead and tail motos, a couple of these guys actually follow me on Instagram as well, and they'll message me every once in a while. These are really, really, really cool guys as well. So I always like to try to get at least a shot or two of them. I saw he had that 360 cam on the back. I was like, yeah, I know who that is. So he might shoot me an Instagram message one of these days with hopefully... although he's going to have like 6 hours of footage from that 360 cam. I don't know if he'll be able to pinpoint the exact moment that I was flying there with him. But that would be really cool to see the little baby turtle just pull up next to him and just chill out there for a minute. There you go. There's me saying no to the truck. So the truck was thinking about taking my camera, and my battery was probably going down, and so the truck is probably saying like ready FPV, and that's me saying no, so that he doesn't take FPV, because yeah, that battery was done. That was wow. That was 4 minutes and 20 seconds. So I was flying the 2S 450 mAh batteries on the Baby Turtle, and there were a couple of batteries that I got over 4 minutes. Super impressive. Even in the wind really kills batteries, because the PID loop is spinning the motors up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down to deal with the wind. So here's what I was talking about with the shadow. If you come down at like too steep of an angle, this set of lines here is throwing a shadow on the ground. So you got to be careful. Like, and what makes it even worse is like this line is thicker than this line. So this is just something that I kind of had to figure out. And then throughout the course of the day, this shadow on the ground would move. And so like over and over and over again, when I'm down here, because this is the first line across my path where I'm either dropping down before it or after it. And so all day long, I was kind of managing where the shadow was from these two lines to make sure that I could drop elevation down and get in between them. And this was earlier in the day, so I really like, let me be careful. And so like, if there's ever any doubt, it's a shame when they've taken, so like ideally they'll wait until I'm under the power lines to take my camera, because when I'm dropping elevation like that, if there's wind, like any number of things could happen that makes the quad drop elevation like faster or slower. Every once in a while they'll take my camera too early when I'm still dropping down, and if there's like any chance that I might get near those, I'll have to abort or like just do something ugly basically. And like that was a perfect example where I like kind of put the brakes on and just like threw the shot away, just out of the interest of safety, right? And that's, again, like I was talking about earlier with safety, like of course I want to deliver like an amazing shot every single time, but it doesn't matter. Like if something unsafe might happen, like let the bad shot, let me look like shit in the live stream. I'm totally cool with that, as long as we're completely safe, right? That's super important for all of FPV, as far as I'm concerned. You know, like it's not worth it. It's not worth becoming that guy that made the big mistake that hurts all of us just to get that one amazing shot. Like no shot is worth that. It's yeah. Chill with that. Wrap your head around that in all of FPV, because that's important. You can see how windy it is. But the Baby Turtle fought through it like a little monster. It was really good. And people didn't even notice it. Like the smaller stuff, the riders wouldn't hear it or see it. I was completely invisible to them, which is super funny. Like if I was flying the 2.5 or any of the other stuff, like she would have looked right at me. They always do. When I link up with them like that, they always like glance over at me because they can hear them. We're making a little bit of noise. But yeah, the Tiny Whoop and the Baby Turtle are just totally imperceptible to damn near everyone. It's really neat. It really makes you feel like an actual insect, right? It legitimately makes you feel like you're just this little mosquito just buzzing around. It's a neat thing. But yeah, look at the Baby Turtle just doing work, yo. When there was no wind, it delivered a perfectly steady shot that went out on the live stream a bunch. You'll if you watch that live stream of the event, you will probably see very contrasty flight footage. That's the Baby Turtle that's the Baby Turtle. None of the whoop footage got picked up by the truck. So when you see overly contrasty footage like this, if you watch the live stream, it's from a 58 grams, 2-inch 2S 04 light carrying rig, delivering better footage than the Vista setups that I'd been flying for the past 3 years, which were fine. You know, the camera angle that we're getting is way more important than the quality of the footage. When you see me like flying like it's my first time ever, the truck is talking to me on comms saying like, can you find us an American flag? Or sometimes like I'm not positioned quite right and I want to get more of a gap. Look at the wind just hammering on me. And so, yeah, it's like when there's no chance of them taking my camera, I don't care. I'm going to do whatever it takes and make it look ugly to get myself into a good position. It looks like this time I wanted to try to drop down in this gap here after that first set, and I totally fucked that up. It's, you know, you got to do these drop-ins a couple of times to kind of figure out the timing. Also, look how slow they're riding. When the riders change their speed, oh man, is it difficult for me to kind of manage and to line up an elevation drop. It's really, that's one of the hardest things. And they change speed quite a bit. This is them like totally coasting and conserving a lot of energy. They're probably only going like 15 miles an hour right now. They'll sprint up to like, the women I think will sprint up to 30, 35. The men I think will get up to 40 and maybe a little bit beyond 40. And so the differences in speeds when they're sprinting versus resting is pretty severe, and it makes it really difficult for me. But again, that's one of the most fun things. That's a part of that mega challenge that that this stuff is. So there you go, man. There's a bunch of baby turtle footage for you. The other thing that I flew, just super briefly, is this Siren F3. And I just kind of stayed away from everyone with it. I'm not even gonna bother showing you this. It's 03 flight footage. It's I brought it because I thought that I could do like some fun, like hardcore freestyle stuff on some of the buildings, away from people, right? Because it's a bigger, heavier, more powerful rig without the prop guards, and so, but the area that I was flying from, I didn't really have a good safe spot to kind of do that. So I think I flew like one battery on it. And like I tried to go over here near where the firemen guys were, but obviously super clear of them, and do like some power loops and matty flips on that wall and shit. But it just didn't look all that good. And it was like, no, this isn't really worth it. So yeah, I had high hopes of getting some like what I really wanted to do was the courthouse. The courthouse is really cool, and usually where I fly from is over by the courthouse. So if we'd flown from the same race course as the previous years, it would have been totally fine. I could have gotten some really cool stuff with this, but we were in a different spot this time, and so there just wasn't a good area that didn't have the potential of people walking by, and so I just said to hell with it. So yeah, I won't bore you with the flight footage from this. But I will leave you with, I will get copyright ding-donged with, just like last night in the middle of the night when I just started rifling through the footage to pull it off of the memory cards, there were a couple of little things that I stumbled across that were pretty slick that I will play for you with audio. Let me confirm. Okay, cool. So you're going to get audio. Yes, for those of you that watch the flight edits that I put up, this might not actually play right. Yes, I just used this song, Lock Lusa, in an edit, but it's just too good. We're in, like, Alabama, and I just feel like this song matches so nice to this. And so here you go. Check this out. This is like 14 seconds of work. I'm going to clean this up, but just two little fun things that I did.
Alright, La Lusa is on my mind. She's is on my mind. Homesick, but it's alright.
So there you go. Sometimes things just line up in such a nice way. Like with songs and flight footage, and I just get such a kick out of it. I get such a kick, and I spend a lot of one of the reasons that when I do edits it takes so long is that I spend a ton of time finding a song that fits with the look of the footage, like the pace of the footage, stuff like that, where like the song can fit in and have like a drop in the song when the scaffolding rips by. Maybe another hit in the song where like the song gets a little bit more exciting and like the riders come underneath, right? So yeah, cool stuff. And then I also did get a little champagne moment here, which is pretty slick. I don't have audio under this yet, but slowed down to 50% speed. This looks pretty cool. We got the cork, just, I don't know if you guys can see it because YouTube compresses the shit out of the streams, but the cork went whizzing by to the left. The quality looks like shit because Premiere with OBS and everything is running terrible, so I have it cranked down to a quarter quality, but this is all in 4K. This is all like gorgeous. But yeah, there you go. So that's what I did Saturday. Oh, motherfucker. I didn't just show... I didn't hit the button, did I? Did I just Stevie Wonder that? I'm going to assume that I Stevie Wondered that. Hold on. I'm pretty sure I did. I'll zoom in on it a little bit this time too. Play, zoom. There goes the cork, and then there's some champagne and 50% speed. Just perfect. 50% speed, everything. And then I'll sync that up with something in the music. Those were the the pro men's winners. So there you go. Let me try to get caught up the rest of the way on chat. Probably not the rest of the way, but I'll get caught up as much as I can. And then, although while that's going, I'll let some of the Cine 3.5 footage play because that's the. It was really the star of the show, man. It was just getting work done yesterday. So if I play it out of here, I can put... So this is all in D Cine, but I should be able to just drop like this GoPro LUT on here, and it'll make it look a little bit better. Hold on. So we're going to go right monitor, filters, and... Oh, that's a bit much. What about just that? Nope. What about both? That's a bit much. Let me just go push this up a little bit. No, that's too much. Man, it's putting in way too much saturation. Let's pull some saturation out on here. There we go. The GoPro colors are a little bit more flat than DJI colors when you have them in their raw modes. And so, yeah, this is the GoPro LUT is a little bit overly aggressive, but that looks pretty good there. Leave that on. Uriel says, with the big tours, they use helicopters. Would be a big cost reduction if they do it with drones. Could be cost reduction. Yeah, so they kind of have to do it with helicopters, though, on the big tours because they're point A to point B, right? This is the perfect kind of cycle racing with drones because it's a closed course. The A to B racing, yeah, we would have to like ride along in like cars or on the back of motorcycles, and then they're gonna have to stop, and we're changing battery. I don't see it really working. One of the things that the people that actually know what they're talking about in the cycling world talk about with drone coverage is that it's actually incredibly safe compared to a fucking helicopter, and also even compared to the motorcycles, right? 500 pounds of motorcycle behind the group, and also cars, right? Like a fucking 4,000 pound car sharing space with cyclists. That's a great way to kill cyclists, right? Like, drones are super, super, super safe. It's really frustrating that that of all people, the safety people can't get that through their heads. But most of them can. There's always that one, not always, but every once in a while at these events, there'll be that one bad apple that just, wants to feel important and throw their weight around, and, it's super annoying. And then I go talk to my boss, and he's like, yeah, ignore that guy. He doesn't... it's just a human being that's in pain, pushing their pain onto other people in the world. It's a shame, but, gets a little bit worse every day here in this country in terms of people being in pain. Thanks a lot, Agent Orange, you fuck. Amit says, how is it flying with an ND filter on? You don't even really notice it. I mean, you get motion blur, but yeah, it's not something that I notice. It looks better. like if anything, it like gets you more excited about what you're doing because it looks super cool. It looks like you're flying through a GoPro, basically, right? And so yeah, it doesn't add any latency. Like your latency is tied to your frame rate. So if you're in 1/60th of a second with or without an ND filter, you're getting the same amount of latency. It's you just get more motion blur, which doesn't really affect us because we're typically not looking at the motion blur, right? We're usually looking towards the center of the frame, and the motion blur is usually happening out on the outsides, so it doesn't have much of an effect. I realized that little I should have incorporated that little clock tower thing more. I never got I didn't do that enough times for them to catch it and put it into the live stream, but that I realized it a little too late in the day. And so there's me just wanting to make a bigger gap so I can swoop down. And what I'm trying to do here is, one of the things they like to show is how big the gap is between the main group, the peloton, and the breakout group. And so sometimes when I want to show that, I'll drop down like that. It looks like it was getting a little windy. I was getting a little pushed by the wind, and so I kind of aborted that to stay safe. If they're not on my camera, like it's whatever, right? I'm not going to hold the line and be above these riders if they're not going to take my shot. So sometimes, like, I'll have a really good shot lined up, and in comms I hear that they're not on me and they're not saying like ready FPV. I'll just bail because like it's not, it's about the live stream, and it's about being mind-bendingly safe. So sometimes, yeah, if you see me just like randomly break off from what looked like a cool shot, like, I'm not flying this to get this 4K. I'm flying live broadcast. I'm delivering to the truck. This is not about the 4K. It's about the live stream itself. And that's a different, you got to get that through your head to do this really effectively, in my opinion. And stuff like this too, right? Like, yes, it looks great being right on top of the riders, but don't do it every single time. Give a different perspective. Be more safe, right? It's not as good of a perspective being off on the side like that, but it's a safer thing. It's a safer place to be. And so mix it up. Also, like, when you're flying this for hours and hours and hours, you realize like which shots the truck does take and which shots they don't. And if you do the same thing 4 or 5 times in a row, they'll stop taking that because it's boring. It's the same thing over and over again. So you learn to kind of mix it up a little bit, deliver them what they want to see. Brandon's Baked Bean says, it's bouncing slowly enough that I imagine it could be tuned up. Get the filters as minimal as possible and crank up the PIDs in the wind, see if it improves. I have messed with tuning quite a bit over the years, and it doesn't make as much of a difference as I'd hoped. The biggest difference has been going from 2.5 to 3, and a little bit less so 3.5. But yeah, getting off of 2.5 has made a big difference. I do want to continue to spend. So the next event for me is Tulsa Tough, but it's not for a couple months. And so I am going to spend a bunch more time really diving into the tunes on the Cine 3 and 3.5 to get them absolutely as dialed in as possible. They're pretty good right now. Here in the part of Georgia that I'm in and like my neighborhood and the surrounding areas, we don't really get much wind. And I need to remember that. Like, I have been tuning these things in the front yard and across the street in the church, and they are locked here. And then when I got there and there was some wind, I was like, shit, not this again. But also, like, I'm down low in between these buildings, and so it's tumbling, swirling wind, and that's even more difficult to deal with. Also, I'm catching the really dirty air coming off these riders, and so it's super, super, super challenging. But yeah, I do want to keep going on these things. I am certainly going to keep tuning. I'm actually like really kind of looking out for a windy day. When we get a windy day here in North Georgia, my ass is going to be outside pounding batteries to move the D gain up as high as I possibly can, along with the P and I gain. But these things were pretty well locked in. This is every year. These events in Anniston are very challenging. All these buildings, all the swirling wind, and then these riders, man, holy shit. The wall of air coming off these riders is incredible. Like, it's bananas. That's why you'll see me lock into a specific height most times. That I'm like a foot above all that dirty air. Like that's where I kind of lock in. Which is nice. Like, it actually makes locking into that height, like, I'm not gonna say easy, but like easier, because like if I'm too low, it starts to wobble all around. So it's just like, cool, a little bit of extra throttle, bang, good to go. And it gives me that like perfect, like, it's probably like 4 feet. I'm probably 4 feet off the tops of their helmets, and you know that's a good place to be. CiottiFPV said, but because also that gives me plenty of gap between the power lines and the scaffolding and stuff, right? Like, I always want to be perfectly centered between the heads of the riders and the power lines, so that if something happens, I have maximum space to cut or add throttle, right? CiottiFPV says, I'm sure you use both 2.4 and 900, but do you think it's that much different from a 2.4 900 dual band that drops to 900 when 2.4 goes down? Beta FPV X cross mono. That would be a good question for Joshua. Joshua was an RF engineer. I don't know if he was an RF engineer, but he worked in RF for a while. I don't know if that's the right title for him. You can see right there, there's the wind coming off these riders. Look at this. Ready? It's crazy. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I do not. But boy, oh boy, am I impressed by Gemini. Gardo Rotor says, what was that circle frame again? I held it. You think I'd remember. So these are the AOS Cine 3. He has a whole bunch of them. He's got the Cine 2 inch, 2.5, 3 inch, 3.5. I think it stops there. I don't think there's a 4 inch version of this. I was a little worried. Like this is these supports here felt like they were a lot of carbon fiber in the way of the prop disc. But boy, these flew great. Like I do think it would fly even better with these like pulled in here. Maybe like maybe this circle doesn't need to be quite as big here. But no complaints. These things flew phenomenally. Absolutely phenomenal. I was so comfortable flying these, which is really important, right? Like the more comfortable you are behind the sticks, you can just fall into that flow, and that's when, you know, you do all your best work, and that's when no bad shit happens. So yeah, really impressed by this new fleet. Anybody want to buy the old stuff? The QAV Cinna with Vista, and the AOS Cinna 2.5 with Vista, and the DJI Smart Controller are now officially for sale. If you want to start doing live broadcast work, that is a absolutely dialed sub 250, no bullshit, like beautiful setup of gear that I've used for years. And again, it's not about the quality of the shot. It's about where you can put a camera. You could very easily I could have done this gig yesterday with that gear setup, and it would have been totally fine. You can absolutely book live broadcast work with that gear setup. I would love to sell that whole gear setup to someone that's looking to dive into live broadcast stuff, because it's incredibly fun, and it's a new thing that's like really cool in FPV. And yeah, I think we're gonna start to, after the attention that it got in the Olympics, I think we're gonna start to see it more and more. Look at how fast they're sprinting. Holy Christ. Is this the end of the men's race? This is the end of the men's race. There you go. So here are the 5 fastest pro men's racers. Well, yesterday they were the fastest in the world, really. These guys are from, these are mainly US folk. Oh, I'm not sharing my fucking screen. What an asshole. Yeah. Here are the winners. I'm just sitting here watching it all alone. I think the second red jersey is Clever Martinez. Such a nice guy. And then, yeah, his teammate won. Yeah, there's Clever. You can tell by his hair. He's got wild hair. There it is. The celebration. Ola says, I joined late just watching the intro. Whatever you're getting paid, it should be more. Solid flying, aspirational even. Thank you, dude. I get paid very well for this. I would love to make more, but I get paid very fairly and very well for this work. It's a lot of work goes into this to build a fleet of gear that can do this safely. Takes a lot of time, and so even though I get paid a lot, I put a lot of time in and a lot of effort in, and so it's fair. It is very fair. Amit says, could you check out a Cinewhoop design I'm working on? It's 2.2 inch. Oh, don't do 2.2, man. Don't make people use such a stupid prop size. I'll take a look at it on tomorrow's live stream. I gotta wrap this up. But that's going to be my first feedback is don't do 2.2. Go either 2 inch or 2.5 inch. These in-between prop sizes are so obnoxious, and it's just silly. So there you go. There's my initial feedback. Cole says, hit me up on Discord to tweak your gyroflow settings. 04 Lite SOV has less to sacrifice than Pro. You want to get that all dialed in. That was just dumping it in there. I've actually spent a decent amount of time in gyroflow kind of figuring that stuff out. If I'm having trouble, I'll definitely hit you up though. But yeah, I've learned quite a bit about gyroflow over the last like month or so. It's come a long way. It's come a long way. The sunset yesterday was awesome too, by the way. If there were a little bit more clouds, it would have been even better, but we had a nice sunset. But yeah, I've learned quite a bit about gyroflow over the last like month or so. It's boy, it's come a long way. It's come a long way. The sunset yesterday was awesome too, by the way. If there were a little bit more clouds, it would have been better. But we had a nice sunset. Gangrene now, talking about antennas and whatnot. I'm going to skip that one. Brandon's Vapine says it keeps the files under 4 gigabytes. Good call. If you drop the multiple files from one flight into GyroFlow, we'll join them into a new file. No way. I do this all the time for long range flights. Oh my god, dude. That's insanity. That's so cool. Thank you for telling me that, dude. Frank Dr. Nicholas says DJI video file might be size bounded versus time bounded. Yep. Capital C says it's a file size thing. They won't post larger than 4 gigs. Makes sense. It's probably like the amount of RAM that's on board. Capital C says I record my live events at 1080, 60, sometimes 2K, but then the flights are on one file and I don't have to mess with seeming GyroFlow. Capital C says great footage. Thanks for sharing. Thank you, dude. YouTube just did the thing. Scrolling back up. Oh man, I don't know. Oh no, here we go. I was about to say I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get through all these chat comments, but I think I'll be able to. Where Garter Ritter says you're playing Mavic Guy. Yeah, I was. I flew. By the way, also I flew very low up tilt, the lowest up tilt I've ever flown, and I got some really good backwards stuff. To give you an idea of the up tilt that I flew all day, this is the 3-inch rig. It needs a little bit more nose down, so this one has a little bit more up tilt. That's maybe like 10 degrees. This is the 3.5, which is damn near 0, if not 0. I did adjust the up tilt a little bit on this at the end for the podium ceremony. So I think it actually is at 0 right now. It was maybe like 5 degrees. It was it had the tiniest little bit more up tilt than that. But yeah, I flew super, super low up tilt and it was really nice. What I've realized over the years is that the less up tilt that I fly, the more I can look down on the riders. The thing you got to be careful of though is that you lose the ability to see ahead if you run too low of an up tilt. So each different side, and then so if you look at the 2.5, that's got a decent chunk of up tilt. The bigger the rig, the flatter you can fly to go the same speed. So the bigger the rig, the lower the up tilt that you can use. And so again, going to the bigger propped rigs has helped me with that, and I can fly lower up tilt and still be able to see where I'm going. And again, if you want to not run into stuff, that's important. Which I obviously do and have. Not run into shit, that is. Striker says, I ran those C145s on a 3-inch freestyle rig about a year and a half ago. Really enjoyed it. Got great power out of it. Yeah, they make really, really good power. Dan GTT, thank you so much for the 199-pound super chat. Much appreciated. Sporny says, what weight penalty is acceptable for those Cineducts? My current clip-on design is around 20 grams with PLA. Oh, God. Hell, I don't know. I mean, so when you put ducts on, you gain weight, which makes it slide more, but the aerodynamic change is massive. So I don't think and then so like on some of these builds, you can run like a thin duct or a tall duct. I don't think it'll ever even out. I think as tall as you can possibly go, you do that, regardless of the weight. I really do. Especially like if you're going from like this to this. If you were going to go from like this to this, like, yeah, I'm sure there's a point of diminishing returns, but there's no ducts out there that are like that. So yeah, the tallest duct that you can get, always run that if you want like absolute razor blade precision. Jimmy the Cow says, I spotted a Rotor Riot bat strap on your drone. Rip that war crap shit off there. Which one? I don't know which one that's on. Maybe the Cinna. It'll rip at some point. and I'll have to replace it. Or no, it's probably on the siren. I don't know where the siren went. No, it's not on the siren. Which one? I have ethics straps on them. I think you were seeing the ethics straps. Yeah, I have ethics and Lumineer straps on all of them. You're probably seeing the ethics strap. It kind of looks like the Rotorite logo. Cole says, do you think that TPU ducts would be better if I lightened up but using a stiffer TPU? Maybe, but it's you got to be careful with TPU ducts. You'll put your rig on your bag, and a duct will be like pushed up against something, and then when you get there to fly, the propeller is hitting it. So I don't actually recommend that you run TPU ducts. I like the hard plastic molded ducts, those cloud ducts, and these HQ Cinesplore ducts are molded plastic, so you don't have to worry about any of that. It's way stronger. So yeah, I have zero experience with TPU ducts after seeing so many other people's nightmares with them. Eco says, bit of a broad question. Apologize in advance. LOL. What are your thoughts on Happy Model 0802 motors? I've seen a few low power comments here and there, but running a set and they seem fine. If they seem fine, rock them, man. There's always going to be a more powerful motor out there, and so if you've got something that flies good and you're happy with the power, don't think about it. More powerful motors are going to eat the battery sooner, and so enjoy the extra runtime. If at some point you're not making enough power, then switch the motors. But yeah, don't feel like you have to, chase the dragon and have the most powerful 802. If you're happy with the way your shit flies, just fly it. Striker with a $5 super chat. Thank you, dude. He says, thanks for all your help. I wouldn't be nearly as good of a pilot or even be in FPV without a lot of your advice that you offer for free. Thank you so much, for real. You're welcome, dude. G Wolfman with a $5 super chat. He says, what analog AIO would you recommend for Caillou Mini with 1103, 11,000 kV motors? Anything 12 amp or higher. And I don't really have an AIO that I like better than any of the other ones. I think there's only like 3 of the damn things, though. So close your eyes and point. They all seem to be pretty good. I've had really good luck with the Happy Model X12 and X14, but there are some other options, and they all seem to be just as good as one another. And to be honest, here's the actual answer to that question: whichever one you can actually find in stock. That is the only answer to that question, because nothing in FPV is in stock, because war crimes are being committed in this country by our own government. Penguin FPV says, super chat chain, thank you for the $4.99, brother, much appreciated. Uriel says, the core of old-fashioned TV coax cable. Yeah, that would work. That would work for an antenna. Absolutely. Any piece of metal, really. White Powder RX says, rip Nikki Hayden. Oh no, did Nikki Hayden die? Nikki Hayden was a motocross rider when I was growing up, wasn't he? Oh, I guess he died today. Oh no, passed away 7 years ago. Okay, well, I mean, it's Kentucky Kid. That's right, that was his name. I thought he was. It looks like he was sport bikes. I thought, for whatever reason, I thought he was motocross. All right. Capital C says, I'm always amazed how often the crowd doesn't notice me flying micros about them. You can get some great candid footage. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's a special kind of magic when you get the genuine reactions from people. They're the 3 men's pro leaders. TX2 Stomp with a $4.99 super chat. He says, keep doing your thing. I will, brother. Thank you so much. Striker says, how did the RCN Power 1404.6 fly? They're really good. Really, really good. Exactly as expected. Nothing crazy. Nothing disappointing, though. Sporny says, a servo for tilting the camera in flight is still interesting, but it adds complexity. It does. It adds complexity, and it adds the potential for mistakes, the potential for more piloting mistakes. I've been flying fixed up tilt for 10 years. To now have to learn head tilt and to carry that extra weight and have it be like not crashable at all, right? And just in general, moving the up tilt up and down, you are not going to be as dialed in as a pilot. It's just like, yes, you can put a switch on there that brings it back to a predetermined up tilt, and that's pretty good, but that's just one more thing to fuck up, or one more thing to like forget about, or just one more layer of like, oh shit, something bad happened because, right? And so as tempting as it is, because I'm lucky enough to call Josh Medlin of Medlin Drones a friend. We used to hang out at every Rotor Riot, and we talk on Instagram every once in a while. I can get what I want to get as safely as possible with the fixed up tilt, and that's like it's good enough. It's looking like at Tulsa Tough, we might have a really cool dual operator setup. My buddy Brad, my oldest friend in the world, has gotten a 04 Pro gimbal setup going with a transmitter, and he might come up to Tulsa and we'll bolt that onto the bottom of whichever one we can keep under the weight limit, and try to do a dual operator setup. So that could be ridiculous, because then I can fly in front and get the backwards facing look, which will be really cool. I could also drop down like onto the sidewalk, for example, and let the gimbaled camera shoot sideways, and so you got fucking trees whizzing by like this as you're tracking perfectly flat. Also, like, you don't have to have that 45-degree angle tracking shot, right? It can be completely flat, so there might be some really cool stuff coming from that. Capital C says, damn, that was super cool. Frank, okay, not seeing it. Yep. Euro says, do often content makers mirror their content? I sometimes see the letters in mirror form. Yeah, a lot of times people will let their, because on the camera screen it's mirrored, so like it would be easier for me to live stream if I got this made mirrored, and then just let the camera not mirror. I reverse it on purpose so that, and so it makes it more difficult. Like on my viewfinder right now, I'm pointing in this direction, but in my OBS window, I'm pointing in this direction. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, it makes it a little bit harder for me, but it's yeah. I can wear shirts that have sayings on them and they don't show up backwards. Phil Bradley says, I like the shot when it looked like you were in the Peloton. It's cool, right? That is one of my favorites. It doesn't happen super common that they spread out wide like that. But boy, when it happens and I've lined it up properly, I just sit in there and just let it occur. Like, that is a perfect example of, as a pilot, you don't do a fucking thing. You just fly straight. Like, one of the things that I've had to learn with flying professionally is that, like, it's not about me. It's about what is in front of the camera. I am a flying camera. I'm not a fighter pilot. Like, one of my favorite sayings is fly the camera, right? Like, you are a camera in three-dimensional space that can go anywhere. It's always tempting to do crazy shit and like make people go, wow. But like when something like that happens, you shut up and you just fly the straightest fucking line you can. And it's hard. It's actually really hard to do that. It's hard to do less than more. We get so used to doing so much shit in FPV. It's actually very hard without a gimbal to fly these things perfectly flat right down the middle of the road and let things happen around you. So yeah, those are some of, it's funny. The shots that I'm most proud of, I'm doing the least. But what's funny is I'm actually not. I'm making the smallest corrections I possibly can. I'm making corrections as early as I possibly can. Like if I start to see myself slide to the right, as early as I can, I'm making a correction as small as I possibly can to let that correction build up so that it'll bring me back. It's ooh, I fucking love that. That is like my favorite part about cinematic flying is when you do nothing and when you fly these things like a Mavic, but you fly them like a Mavic 4 feet off 30 dudes' helmets going 40 fucking miles an hour. It's just absurd. Oh, I love it. Ramalala says, play it again. I took care of that, I think. Slow-mo sunsets. Yep. Those cables ruin your potential for coverage. Very restricting compared to drifting. Yeah, so there's a couple of drift guys down in Florida that are running the head tracking. That's a whole different thing, right? A place that they're doing drifting, it doesn't have light poles, it doesn't have wires, it doesn't have any bullshit going on. It's a fucking car with a person in it. So like if you fall on top of the car, who gives a shit? Right? And so in those scenarios, yeah, go bananas. Bolt weird shit, make it do 3D mode, doesn't matter. This is, yeah, way different. Way different. Mupshot says, are you telling them you're in position or a countdown to being in position? Every once in a while, it's very difficult for me to talk on comms and fly at the same time because I have to take a hand off the transmitter. Every single one of these live broadcast trucks seems to have a different setup for comms. And so there's really no way for me to like figure a clever way to map it onto the transmitter. Even if I could map it onto the transmitter, like I pinch the thumbsticks and I've never been able to flip switches with these fingers without it affecting so like no matter what, there's an interruption to your flying. And so me talking to the truck is very difficult. Every once in a while, they'll give me a countdown, but it's pretty rare. I usually basically sell them a shot, and then they will hopefully take that shot. And so I will park it in a position where you can see the riders coming so that the people in the truck can see what I'm doing. They realize that I'm lining this up. They'll see the riders coming, and then they will take it at the right moment. But you just get used to like showing them your idea. It's cool because it's nonverbal communication. It's kind of what I love about couples dancing is that you have to communicate with your dance partner without saying anything. You have to tell them, yo, we're doing a spin on this side, and then we're gonna go 3 steps to the left, and then we're gonna do this or that without saying anything. You have to communicate basically through your connection, through your hands, typically. This is nonverbal communication visually, and so like I have to talk to them through what I'm doing. Right, the simple stuff is yaw left and right for no, pitch up and down for yes. But the even more fascinating part is like selling a shot. And sometimes I'll have to run a path once to show it to them, to show them where they're going to have coverage. And then I'll go back and I'll do that exact same thing again. And they'll take my camera on the second one. So sometimes it's kind of about doing that. Sometimes it's just about parking the drone in a spot where you can see the riders coming. So they're like, cool, I'm going to transition off camera 5 straight to FPV, then to camera 7, then to 9, then to 1, right? And they've got this whole flow in their heads of being able to have it be seamless, and they got to do it live. It's so good. The people that work in these trucks are every bit as good as I am, just in a different way. Like they're on the radio all the time, like, oh my god, that looks so cool. If you do that again, and then afterwards, like, dude, you're so good. I'm like, no, like what they do has been around forever, and so like it's not this like cool new fresh thing, but boy are they good. Boy are they good at like storytelling and keeping everything straight. They've got like 9, 10, 11, 12 cameras they got to bounce back and forth between. Generators are going down, cameras are shutting down, people are crashing. It's wild. I worked in our at Trenton State College in my early 20s, I took a class in the TV production studio and got to run the board and got to do all the different jobs in there. It is brutal stuff. These people are masters that can actually book work doing it. It's incredible. B-Mondin might be moving to Atlanta soon. Maybe I can come hang out on stream. Absolutely, man. Come on through. Where are you moving at in Atlanta? Striker says, want to get ND filters for 5-inch freestyle, maybe cinematic in the future. How dark should I go? You want ND8 and ND16, in my opinion. ND32 is only for snow in direct sunlight. ND4 is not enough of a difference. So ND8 and ND16. You run an ND8 until it's too dark, and then you just take it off, and you're fine. I had ND4s for a while and almost never used them. This is going back into photography work, and then I tried one in FPV, and it was the same kind of deal. It's just not dark enough to really make enough of a difference. Capital T says, thanks for all the great info and footage today. Super educational. Love it. Ramalala with all the emojis in the world. Sporny says, if I need stuff, I design stuff, so I'll just try different duct heights. There you go. Full height would be 25 millimeters, so probably do full height. White Powder RX says, AMA Superbike MotoGP champ killed on a pedal bike by a motorist. Oh God. Yeah, see, like come on. It's just, no. Sporny says, double operator stuff is sick. We'll do a rig with my buddy too. Very cool. Cole says, hate to say it again, but racing makes you a better cinema pilot too. Yeah, for sure. For sure. It just makes you a better pilot in general. B. Mondin says, foot switch, push to talk for comms. Oh, that would be cool. That would be very cool. And I'm caught up. There we go. Thanks for hanging, friends. Thanks for listening to me yammer on and on about something, about the thing in FPV that I believe I'm most passionate about. It's just right up my alley. It's such an amazing challenge, and I do a really good job with it. And yeah, I put a lot of work and thought and effort into it, and it becomes very rewarding. As you all know, because FPV itself is exactly that. You know, FPV, like, you have to put way too much time and effort into than is reasonable to be able to do it. And so every single one of you know exactly how gratifying it is eventually, but holy shit, when you're in it and when you're in the trenches with it, it is brutal. It is absolutely brutal, and it is unforgiving, and there's moments where you're like, I can't do this. And I have not had one of those I can't do this moments in a while, but dealing with computer stuff with a Raspberry Pi and Cosmos Streamer took me to that point a couple of days ago. And I legitimately had a point where I was like, I can't do this. I've troubleshot this for like 8 or 9 or 10 hours. I've tried absolutely everything there is to try. I can't do it. And that's a tough pill to swallow for somebody that's been able to do, for anybody that's able to actually figure FPV out and stay in it for more than a couple of months. Having to think to yourself, I can't do this, is kind of unheard of because FPV is one big I can't do this. Every single one of you knows exactly what I mean. So, yeah, welcome, friends. Maybe it was good to be reminded of that. I would rather have had it just fucking work. Shout out to Frank Nicholas, though, for hooking me up with a whole bunch of Raspberry Pi stuff that allowed me. And in the process, I did learn a lot about the Cosmos Streamer, which is good. And so it did all work out, but boy, I had to fucking work it. I had to earn I had to earn it this last week. But it turned out really good. Thanks for hanging, friends. Join my Patreon. It's the best way you can support me, and it's tough to do this full time. The flying gigs are very few and far between, and it gets a little bit worse every year, unfortunately, with our economy being driven into the ground. So yeah, support your boy. I'll keep doing this. I'll tell you what not to buy so you don't waste your hard-earned money. I promise for $3 a month, you'll save a lot more than $3 a month by me telling you $50 and $80 and $100 things that are awful and that you don't want to buy because they'll catch on fire. Cool. Be good. Here's a little bit more. Here's one random flight file that I'm going to pick. I'm going to try to pick one of the female ones where I had a really nice backwards run. I'm going to try to find that really quick because, yeah, but this is going to be the Cine 3.0 to take us on out of here. Come on. Find it. Find it. Nope, this is men's. It's not going to be here. It's going to be up here. Come on. Let me get it. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Is that it? Ooh, ooh. That was one of them. Is it in this same battery that I did the really good one? Oh, it is. It is. It is. All right. Yeah, here you go. Here's one of the ones that I'm most happy with. It's about 3 minutes in. Stick around. It's worth it. I promise. I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern time. Be good.
Yeah. Out in the yard where the grass grows wild, CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy Spaghetti's fur flies and jet wash dreams, yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Bit fuzz and prop spin all tangled in place, yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail in the circus of the sky. They never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, things zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sadi's on sticks, Teddy's on paws. Side by side, legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen, over couch scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz, fuel, fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah, yo, Sadi behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle mic. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive. Teddy push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind, Teddy. Yep, yeah. CiottiFPV, Teddy Spaghetti, diamond and duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Teddy Spaghetti, Teddy and duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed, things zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, when you hear that bar cut the rotor hum, you know Ciotti and Teddy's mission's just begun. FPV's fur-faced legends, legends singing loud. Yeah, Teddy Spaghetti and CiottiFPV.